Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a season finale bonus edition of the Missing Lynx post-game podcast bonus episode live stream. At some point, I'll figure out what I'm naming this. Today is not that day. And I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz. I write for the zone coverage. It's like Ohio State now. The zone coverage. I cover the Wolves, Lynx, and Gophers, and the Lynx just will not let me go this season, which is probably more of like an indicative that like people care about the WNBA and there needs to be more WNBA content than like, woe is Andrew, he has to talk about something he's passionate about. But thankfully, Hitting the Hardwood has a couple of fine fellows to talk about women's basketball with.
Who are they?
When do they get here?
It's wild. I couldn't find them. So Mitch Hansen, founder of Hitting the Hardwood, is coming live from the driver's seat of an Audi somewhere in Wisconsin. How's it going, Mitch?
I never thought that sentence would be said, but I am
right
for my day job. I'm on my way to Milwaukee right now. And
you said company car. It is the Hitting the Hardwood company car. Patreon patrons, you are. We're
getting Audis.
Mitchell's.
Yeah. You're funding our vehicles. Yeah.
We're Andrew and I are still 10 patrons away. That's how expensive the Patreon's getting.
But yeah, I'm in middle of Wisconsin right now, and I still wanted to be on the pod, so here I am.
And Terry Horstman, the last time I saw you, I would say malcontent. Disgruntled Terry Horstman after watching the Lynx blow a 20-point lead. I believe we grunted at each other in passing as our goodbye. And basically, you are now finally back from Europe, and the Lynx season is over, and he has lit the world on fire. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had a very relaxing trip to Italy where I woke up every morning to about, I can't remember how I said, like it was like 500, 600 texts as different things were melting down. So yeah, great to get away. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, let's start with what
anything happened.
Let's start by filling
in
Terry
the last week and a half.
Again, the post-game podcast of Game 2 of the Mercury was a lot of they got this one, but I don't really know what is going to change in this series to make it a Mercury running away with it. And then the Mercury promptly ran away with it. First I'd like to just reflect on this season though. Like I wrote a piece for zone coverage kind of just, I worry that this season is going to be one of those seasons that 15 years ago no one remembers. And I hope it's not that way because there has been so many accomplishments that this team had, and it's really unfortunate they fell short. Also, the creative license I have at zone coverage to start a piece off going 200 words on a Jurassic Park VHS is wild. So shout out Tom Shear. But how do you guys feel this season will get remembered? Mitch, I'll go from you live from the car first.
I mean, I just passed a cheese curd stand. No, I think.
And you didn't stop?
There'll be plenty more opportunities, trust me. But no, I ultimately, I think when people are going to look back to the season, it's going to be what happened at the end, which is unfortunate. I mean, it's always, who ended up winning, who ended up, not getting to the finals. That's what the story of Minnesota will be in 2025, which is unfortunate because, as you mentioned, it was one of the best regular seasons we've seen. They tied Las Vegas for 34 wins, most in the regular season in WNBA history. You mentioned the individual accolades that they had. As right before we jumped on this recording, Alana Smith and Nafisa Collier were named the first team, all defensive team. So the accolades just keep piling up. And that's not even mentioning, Cheryl Reeve, surpassing the all-time wins list with regular season and postseason combined. It was a really memorable season. The Lynx absolutely dominated throughout the course of the regular season, but it all gets thrown out the window once the postseason comes along, and that's what you'll remember when you look back 10 years from now. It will be that the Lynx didn't win the championship this year. They'll remember who won the championship, which, as I said, is unfortunate, but that's just kind of the reality of the sports world and kind of how we look back on teams. But to put a bow on it, it was a really memorable season. It was a really impressive season and one of the most dominant seasons we've seen, regular seasons that we've seen in league history. But it ultimately came up short again, which is the ultimate outcome.
Terry, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And it's just the, shame of American sports that we can just, look at a list of who won the title, and that's just what memory serves. But I do think those in the know and those who are there will remember it fondly, and I think it's on us as writers and media people and those who cover this league to ensure that those things, don't go forgotten. And just because the season ends doesn't mean that you have to stop, making work that either honors that or helps inform. I love going back and just like re-listening to all the different scrums and interviews and pressers and things like that, and months later just kind of being like, oh yeah, this is still relevant and this was a cool thing that happened and that people should remember. I mean, all the accolades, of course, Fee's historic 50, 40, 90 are things that we should shout from the mountaintops forever. I do think in this moment in professional sports, in this moment in professional women's sports, what will help this season endure in the minds of people who care and want to tell these stories fondly is the stud buds, and wherever they go from here. I saw T posted on Instagram, I haven't seen Courtney in a week, I miss her, what the hell, that kind of thing. And I think that really was a game changer in how people interact with the league, with the players, how they consume it. And I think like the ripples of that will be felt in a positive way for years to come. And there's so many great performances and other accomplishments this season that I hope we continue to talk about fondly. But the casual everyday American sports fan tunes in for the finals and if kind of an all or nothing, championship or bust mentality, and that's just not the way. I know it's not the way we operate and not the way the very intelligent listeners of this show operate, but it's a season I'll remember fondly for a really long time, and I'm just glad that I got to be part of it every day.
I think that's where I settle into, is I'll remember it fondly. Like I will be. Fee is one of 6 humans to score 20 points on a 50, 40, 90, like across men's, women's, college, professional. Like she is on a list of 6. That's there's been 9 times more presidents of the U.S. than people that have scored 20 points in a 50, 40, 90 season. Like
right.
That is insane that she was able to do that. The efficiency this team has, like as a stat nerd, to like when I am writing about the Lynx 5-10 years from now, this will probably be the team that I'm going back to of like, this is the measuring stick for like if you want to be an all-time great team. And then I mean the team itself, I mean, they all talked about the power of friendship, right? Like it is like a power of friendship type of vibes. Like I feel like Cheryl Reeve opened up a lot more this season than maybe she's done in past. Players kind of showed different vulnerabilities. Stud buds, like it was a season where I feel like there will be a lot of like lasting memories that I hope fans are able to kind of take forever too, and maybe forget the sting of how the season ended.
Well, and just real quick, Cheryl mentioned that too at the very end of the regular season. That was like, no matter what happens, there's nothing you can say or take away from this group that affects how special they are. And I just think that is a lesson that I wish we would be able to appreciate things like that in the way we cover sports in this year, in this country, in this time. Just because a team doesn't win a championship doesn't mean that, those performances that, just caught your imagination and inspired so many should be forgotten or that they're irrelevant or anything like that. Like, it was a very special group. It was a special team, and it was obvious from the jump for those of us who got to be around it. So, yeah.
Well, and then shout out to
which
Cheryl,
I guess that
too.
should.
Go ahead.
No, by all means, you're shouting out Cheryl.
no,
I am on the
just-
head of the Cheryl deserves more credit advisory board.
I was just saying that because shout out to Cheryl too. With you give the players for their buy-in and just them being willing to kind of give up themselves for the team, but also credit Cheryl and her coaching staff for bringing in not only the right people, but kind of meshing them together from day one. That's something that Cheryl does amazingly. Is just the way she can bring a team together day one of training camp and then continue that, and also letting them be who they are, it's remarkable. I don't know if I've really ever seen anything firsthand like that in sports, and it is a credit to who she brings in and the type of people that they brought in, and they brought in some new faces this year compared to last year, but it all just seemed to work out even better than last year. Yes, the outcome didn't result in a better outcome, but it still, it was the pieces were all there, the right pieces, the right people, the right players, the right personalities, and that's just a credit to the top down in making that happen.
Absolutely agree. Like, her hit rate on bringing in like personality fits is otherworldly. I mean, maybe once every a couple years she misses on somebody, but like it's a testament to her like ability to like almost like psychoanalyze people before they get through the door. Terry, we haven't really talked about like what happened in the finals. Mitch and I did a pod. We talked about Fee's kind of mic drop. The post finals with Elle, we talked more about just like, meaning of this Lynx team, but we haven't really gotten into the weeds. Like, what did you feel happened? Like, what went wrong, I guess, just to keep it as general as possible?
Well, a lot went wrong, and I think I blame the two of you who both said this game's over during game 2.
First half of game 2.
The pitchforks should be, coming to your house, Andrew, and finding you on whatever Wisconsin road you're on right now, Mitchell.
You were vehemently telling us to shut up, which I will give you credit for.
I was. So, yeah, I had your back, Cheryl. I was trying to get these two knuckleheads to remember the etiquette in which you cover playoff basketball. It's not over until it's over. I mean, you let the Mercury catch that momentum, and they had no intention of giving it back. And I still felt good, as I was, flying to Italy in the middle of a playoff series of a team I cover, as one does. But I was real worried, because going to Phoenix, which is a tough place to play, I didn't think they were going to drop both. But I kind of felt in game 3, it's like, if you don't win this, like, it's over. And then, of course, the infamous play at the end of the game kind of just felt like that was the tragic sort of Shakespearean way for it to come to an end. And I think maybe just the magic ran out a little bit. Maybe a lot of people are saying that like everyone looked too gassed, and maybe that's part of it, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I don't think anyone was like driven into the ground beyond what they, should have been this year. It's obviously completely different if you have Dejanay Carrington as that player who can play multiple positions. I was really worried about that going into the semifinal series when they lost her. So I think it's just, it's fucking hard to win a title, and you can go back and look at every championship team throughout history, and something they all have in common is the luck broke their way at a certain point. That doesn't mean that everyone's just lucky or whatever, and it only comes down to that, but luck and timing needs to favor you at certain points, and it just didn't for the Lynx this year. And I don't think they need to go. I mean, it sucks that we're in this position now at this offseason where everyone's out of contract, and I know we're probably going to talk about the current, like, probably unfixable relationship between Kathy Engelbert and Nafisa Collier and the players. But I don't think the Lynx need to do that much to change it. I would say if this was any other year, and this year, I'd in favor of running it back and, letting that team grow even further, and maybe you add along the margins a little bit. But yeah, Phoenix is a good team, and they were healthy at the right time, and the Lynx gave a really, really hungry dog a bone. And
yeah,
I do think they, like, Cheryl didn't say anything incorrect after game 3, and Fee didn't say anything incorrect during her exit interview. But I don't think it's untrue to say they have themselves to blame in this. And I don't think any of them would disagree with that, especially after the lead they let get away in game 2. And it's sad, but it's how it shook out.
I feel like in exit interviews, everyone kind of acknowledged that like we blew, like we are to blame. Like, credit Phoenix, they're the better team. Like, Cheryl talked about like how big of a blow Dejanay was. Court and K-Mac were both like they just beat us. Like, we had opportunities, we couldn't capitalize. They beat us. Like, what do you kind of like almost like a what do you want me to say? Like, it's sometimes you just lose. I think I'll push your point a little bit further of just, I do think that Phoenix team, with their size and with their personnel, is a team that can push physicality more than the Lynx. And there was that concern of this Lynx team of who's the dog that's going to be in the fight that jumps in if it gets too physical. I mean, that was Dejanay. Dejanay is the person that's going to like put someone in a headlock if it gets too much. And in game 3 especially, like, that game was just out of hand. Like, rewatching that, knowing what is going to happen at the end is like, the refs need to get a hold on this. They tried. I will say they did try. The second half started, they called 5 quick whistles, and it's like, okay, they are trying to get a hold of this. But then it's almost like the players were just like, shut up, and then they stopped trying to get a hold of it.
Right. And I think Phoenix clearly had strategy to beat the shit out of Fee. And I don't think anyone was intentionally trying to hurt anybody, but it's make it physical, make it suck, and put the onus on the refs to call something.
And that's what they did. And like, again, that is one of the Lynx's weaknesses. They have not over 2 years been able to really stand up to that physicality and really push back. They've won some games just by hitting shots and stuff, but I think it was a really good game plan by Phoenix. They kind of exploited, the areas they're able to exploit in officiating, and unfortunately the Lynx could never punch back. I mean, once that physicality got ramped up, it just seemed like they didn't know what to do. Mitch, what are your thoughts on it, though?
That I agree with you. That's initially, I know when we were going into the postseason, or maybe it was at the end of the regular season, we had all got on a podcast and talked about who scared us the most. And that's, at that time, I had said Atlanta for almost the exact same reasons as Phoenix. They're physical, they're big, and that worried me with Minnesota. Now, hindsight, it's easier to say it now that the series is over, but that is one thing that Minnesota has struggled with, to your guys' point, that they, whether it's a bigger opponent or a physical opponent, or in this case both, that's just something that Minnesota has not been able to match and to really counter. And the other thing too that really stands out to me is, Seattle did this to Minnesota to some extent too, and you can mix in a few other teams too, but Seattle is the first one that really comes to mind. But when you get under Minnesota's skin, it's hard for the Lynx, it seems like, to recover from that. And that's something that Phoenix did really well. There's obviously trash talking in every game, but it just seemed like everything they did got under Minnesota's skin, got them out of sorts, got them, playing not the Lynx basketball we've seen. And ultimately that gave Phoenix hope, and then they ran with it. And I think the turning point, this is kind of obvious, but turning point in the series was game 2, giving up that lead. And then the momentum absolutely swung in Phoenix's favor. And I think if Minnesota wins that game, it maybe is a different outcome. It's a completely different series at that point. But that moment changed the course of this series. And it's just something Minnesota wasn't able to recover from. But Phoenix is a tough team, and you go against a motivated team and a team that really gets under your skin, and that's a recipe for disaster, and that's kind of what we saw.
Well, and to Terry's point too of like running this team back, despite all that went wrong, they were still in overtime of game 2 with chances to win it, and at the end of regulation, like they still had chances to win game 3. They had a good chance to win game 4. Yeah. Like I think that's the like devil's advocate of like, yes, they should run it back, is they were so close again. And if Dejanay doesn't get hurt, if they upgrade on the margins, if Godfrey in the chat says they played the Russian more, if they play the Russian more, maybe they steal one of those games.
There's
and
2 Russians.
Talking completely different. I unfortunately think the Aces are looking really good, so I don't know if they could have limped through the finals, but they were so close in so many occasions that it really is, like you guys said, it's kind of on them for letting the opportunities slip. Yeah. Let's go to an ad break, and then let's talk more off-season-y things, because I think this is setting up to be one of the craziest off-seasons ever. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Lynx podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard, and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. .com worked. That's the over, I think, for anyone who bet on it. So this offseason, I mean, we've kind of talked about it at length multiple times, but Kosu is really the only player on roster that is signed through next year. Dorka, they have the rights for.
Dorka erasure. Dorka's under contract for next year.
Dorka they have Dorka, and then they have some other random person that's playing in like Poland or something.
No, they have Maya Hirsch.
Hirsch, that's who it is. So Dorka,
Mitchell. How good of a season did Maya Hirsch have overseas?
What'd you say?
What's the latest on Maya Hirsch?
I honestly, I have not really followed it during the season. Once
if Mitchell's not on it, then we have no chance.
the off season now underway, I will be starting up. This is a plug, but I will be starting up my off season update at Canis Hoopus. But yeah, I have not looked to see how she's been doing overseas, but that's a very interesting player because we've kind of been just waiting to see what will happen. And honestly, she hasn't put up in crazy numbers overseas, so I don't know. I'm not sure what will be the
This
case.
is what people came for. All these off-season headlines, CBA negotiations, Fee versus Kathy. Who's going to throw the next haymaker? We've got in-depth Maya Hirsch talk.
So here's all I know about Maya Hirsch. She exists. I would assume she's a real person.
She is.
And that's it.
Yeah, you weren't on the beat. We talked to her after the 2023 draft.
I did not exist on the Lynx beat at that time.
You did not.
And then they do have, is it Aubrey, the UConn player that they have? That's
Aubrey Griffin.
Yeah. Aubrey Griffin they have. I think they technically have the rights. I don't fully understand it. I don't think anyone does, but she's around. So they have those 4 players. Everyone else is a free agent. I mean, I guess I'll just ask. I mean, Terry, what do you think the plan is for this team? Like, do you have any inkling of like what they're gonna try to do?
No, I have not been given. I love it. There's a moment, especially when like Cheryl's kind of in a more like I'm gonna be playful with the media today mood, where someone will ask a question before a game and she goes, do you want me to just give you the game plan with a little smile? And I'm so sad I wasn't at exit interviews. I know it, was a somber occasion, but I would have loved to have talked about that. I think here's what we know, and we mentioned this earlier, is that this team, this group of people, players and coaches, are a special group. Cheryl mentioned it all year. All of the players mentioned it all year. They know that they have something special. That doesn't guarantee championships, but I think the hardest part to get right when constructing a team, they know they've gotten it right. I think having that celebration at outside of Target Field, even in defeat, was important for the organization to put on, so that the lasting image of this season was of celebration, not of a playoff win or a championship or whatever, but a celebration of a group of people, because this group is worth celebrating, and that needs to be the enduring feeling that you go into the offseason with. With that, I think that signals a lot of players on this team. The coaching staff and front office are very interested in having come back. We can't really have this conversation unless we assume some hypotheticals. So hypothetically, a new CBA is agreed to. Hypothetically, there is a salary cap of some kind that is much higher than the current.
Why are you going rogue right now? We're live streaming, dog.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were yelling at me.
No, not you.
You were too.
Terry,
why are you yelling at me? You asked me a question.
Okay. Let me lock my dog out. Terry, keep cooking.
All right, I will try to keep cooking. I'm not Courtney Williams though, so I think obviously this starts with fee on down, and I think there will be something in the CBA that is similar to like a max, super max, what was before or whatever, that will allow you to have an upper hand in our players currently on their roster. I don't think Fee wants to go anywhere else. So it starts with that. I think you try to retain as much of this roster as possible. And got to get one more big. I think I will be watching the college season very closely. I hope this lottery gets to happen at some point. Shout out Cheryl for locking down the Sky's first round pick this year because she knew the 2025 Sky were gonna suck. And we'll talk about this for 6 frickin' months. But I mean, a player like Lauren Betts would be very intriguing just as a backup, just to allow you to play bigger. Maybe play a land and fee fewer minutes during the regular season. Not that I have any issue with how Cheryl handled their workloads. She's certainly a far cry from Tibbs, but that would be a luxury that could be used to their advantage. So it's so hard to talk about what they might do, but I do think they need a little bit more depth in the front court, or just a different kind of big than Masha, who does different things so they can stagger a little bit, maybe help out, certain matchups. But like I said, you don't got to change much. I would, if I think a lot of people have looked at or interpreted the Dejanay Carrington acquisition as something of a quote unquote rental to try and win a title. I would do whatever you can to get Dejanay back. And if you have to say, hey, there will be a position battle for that starting spot between you and Bridget Carlton, then that's an offer I would make as well, and also do that to BC, because I want BC back. I know people are already penciling her in to play for the Toronto Tempo, but I think BC, try to win a championship here first. You can play for the hometown team at the end of your career. So we'll see. I want them to. I think continuity is a priceless luxury in this game, and I think they should pursue as much continuity as possible with the supplemental additions they can make to, but I've been talking too long. Mitchell, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Alongside with the front court need, which I do believe, I agree with you. I do think that's an area of need, and the draft might be the perfect opportunity to do that. Depending on what the salary cap looks like, contracts look like, all that stuff, we'll put that aside. But what I'm really like, probably 2 players I'm really looking to see what happens this offseason, that being Jess Shepard and Dejanay Carrington. Let's say they do get Dejanay back, I agree that I think that her and BC should have some sort of battle for that starting spot. I think if that happens, we could very well see BC bump back to the bench, or maybe Dejanay playing more minutes just coming off the bench. But let's say that hypothetically, that Dejanay and Jess are both gone this offseason, I could see them being very aggressive at that, that on basically BC's spot, and going out and just kind of trying to get maybe not a big name player, but a very impactful player in free agency, just because there's a lot of unknown with free agency. But I'm really curious to see what will happen with those two specifically off the bench, because they've earned larger contracts. They will get, they're going to get larger contracts, knock on wood, anywhere, whether it's here or somewhere else. But I mean, I feel like some teams are going to be very aggressive in trying to get them, and now the relationship is a big piece of everything, but the money, especially when it's that much larger, hopefully in next season, money talks, and who knows what'll happen when that situation arises, if it happens at all. But that, along with the front court, that's something I'm really looking at and seeing how that all plays out. But I'm really curious to see what will happen with that top pick that Minnesota owns from Chicago, because it could very well be a number 1 pick. It's likely that it'll be, just percentage-wise, that'll be the number 2 pick, which is still amazing. But it will be interesting to see who kind of emerges in that role, because that'll dictate what Minnesota will probably do in free agency, or the pieces they add elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one thing I'll add is exit interviews. Either me or Cassidy from the Star Tribune kind of asked every player, like, hey, do you want to be back next year? And like, yes, every player gives the generic, like, yeah, I love the city, I'll come back. Like, Kayla McBride stood out as, like, I mean, she said after game 4, like, she went back to the hotel and told Cheryl she couldn't imagine having this feeling with any other team, like with any other organization. Mm-hmm. Like, right. I think K-Mac is back. I mean, she's
Yeah, I
still
think
posting
K-Mac,
fan stuff on Instagram.
right. I think
Fee, I
K-Mac
agree
wants
with
to
you.
end her career in Minnesota.
And I think Cheryl wants that for her. Like they have, K-Mac kind of opened up about the earlier in the season, situation that she had. And she mentioned like she was talking to Cheryl on the phone every day, sometimes for hours, just going through like life personal stuff. Like I feel more confident that K-Mac will be back than anyone else on this roster. Fee is the 99.9% behind the 100% that is K-Mac. And then I mean, Lan is still in town sampling coffee shops. Like I feel like Lan is back. Like
They do
I
have
no
coffee in
doubt
other
that Lan's
cities,
leaving.
but I don't think Lan wants to leave either.
Right. Like if you're still here a week and a half after the season, like you probably want to. So I feel confident in those three. I just don't know with anyone else. Like BC talked a lot about, her relationship with Cheryl and that she loves playing here. Courtney, obviously, between the Player Tribune article and everything else, like she obviously loves being here, her relationship with Cheryl. But like I didn't get the like I will for sure be back from Court or BC.
I don't think anyone is in a position to say I will for sure be back. Some of these players, like I don't think Jess has really gone through a true free agency before. And last season when Cheryl said when there was a press conference after the draft that had the new draft picks, Carly, who they traded for that day, and T, who they had just signed an extension, and Cheryl kind of made what T described as injustice, like T playing hard to get at the beginning of free agency. And I asked T about that later for a feature story that I wrote for the Next, and she was like, it wasn't like I was a free agent for the first time in my career, and I just wanted to go through the process. Cheryl's felt like they like kind of like Cheryl staying nearby, and like T kind of made a joke about it. So like, but I'm just looking through Jessica Shepard's transaction history now, and I don't think she has gone into an off season like truly an unrestricted free agent before. And there will be teams that can be like, here is a bag of money or here is a blank check. There will be two more teams doing this. Can we please not talk about the idea of an expansion draft? Because I remain steadfast, and I don't think you can do one with 95% of the league as unrestricted free agents.
So I just want to add to that because I heard from some people in Phoenix that like everyone I've talked to about it, it sounds like the trend line is that they're going to expand this year's draft. They're going to expand eligibility and give for the expansion draft. They're just going to say, all right, you guys get a top 5 pick, like 4 or 5 or 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, and Juju's class is eligible. You have 2 draft classes to choose from. There's your lottery pick or whatever. Because then you have the potential of like Lauren Betts going to one of these expansion teams.
How will they get? Hasn't it been announced that they
rumors? By the way, this is just me putting out rumors that I've heard from other like markets and stuff.
They're not part of the lottery. Like all like precedent is expansion teams get those first picks after the lottery,
right? Because they can't do an expansion, do they put something in the new CBA for this year that they'll make it a 2-year draft class essentially? And
like they'll get picks, like they'll get additional picks, like comp picks or something. Like I can see that. That's a thing, and they could maybe have a comp system for.
I mean, they could also just in the CBA decide
like
no, Toronto and Portland aren't coming in until next year. Like I wouldn't be shocked. They're kind of in a terrible situation.
They're selling tickets for next year, though.
Are they already selling season tickets?
I don't think that if that's on the table, then yeah, I owe you a Coke because I can't see that. There's 3 more teams coming that they got to get started by a certain date. I mean, it's going to be a new CBA. You can put whatever you want in it. And, Andrew Truckenmiller asked, at this rate, what do you think the chances are the CBA will get resolved by the deadline? It's all a mess. Well said, Andrew.
Yeah. Yes.
I'd say the chances of that are 0 to less than 0 by the deadline. Kathy has mentioned deadlines can be changed earlier in the season. So I think you'll see some creativity from the league office. If you're looking to celebrate a new CBA by the deadline, which is Halloween, so cue all the scary horror story puns that you can associate with having a deadline on October 31st. It's not going to happen by then. But yeah, so it's just even hard to talk about what free agency would look like when we have no earthly idea. I think the expansion thing is there should be like some creative additional cap flexibility for Portland and Toronto that makes them more competitive, or like have more, like they can do 2 super maxes and every other team can just do 1. Maybe not that. That sounds a little crazy. Maybe they like get something like, I don't know, that gives them more negotiating power, because you can't do a traditional expansion draft like this.
No.
Like you just
can't.
Look at the players don't have anyone to protect.
If you say Lynx, you can protect 3 of your 4 players. Like,
right. Then have fun in Portland, Maya Hirsch, if you ever make it over here. Like it's just.
Well, let's dig into the CBA a little bit more, because I'll be honest. Since the NBA season has started, and since I've kind of been more around NBA people, I feel more confident that there is not going to be a lockout than at any point previously, because the NBA owners that get to cash $8 million out of that Disney and Amazon and now USA Network check, they want this deal done so they can cash their check. Like, and they own 40% of the league.
Pay them what you owe them, NBA owners.
I don't know if it's the NBA owners. I mean, if you're looking at like the NBA and you have like,
if they were offering, okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, Boston doesn't have a WNBA team. The owner of the Boston Celtics next year is going to get an $8 million check for the media rights. Like, that's what it breaks down to just from media. It doesn't make sense that Boston would be like, no, we can't increase the salary cap to 35%. It needs to be 30%. Because at the end of the day, he's getting free money. So, like, I think this is a WNBA thing that, but I mean, maybe the NBA is more on what?
Well, they have the NBA has the majority of the control here.
Yeah.
So I don't buy.
That's why I'm saying I'm confident when push comes to shove, it's just going to get done.
Yeah. But it's also just so goddamn messy. There's never been a more outdated CBA, I think, in the history of professional sports in this country. And there's so many. Like, there's the giant issues that we all talk about, but there's also like so many other, like minor issues that pop up. Like things like player housing.
Dude in the XBOW cap does know, by the way.
Thank you, Ghost of Gerulitis.
An infection of the gerul.
Yeah. Ghost, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's tough. I don't think Engelbert's the one to steward this. It just, I remember who was the Mitchell. You probably know this off the top of your head, but 2 years ago, before they were doing charter flights, an owner of one team offered to pay for charter flights for the whole season, for the whole league, not just their team, and the WNBA / the NBA said no.
I think it was New York,
right? And it's just like, I don't know. You can't fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. And I don't know. I'm no fan of Kathy's, but I don't know if it's just Kathy. I think she's just a shadow puppet sometimes. And I just, we aren't privy to the negotiations. We have no idea what's been offered or who's saying no to what. But I put the onus on the offices, on Fifth Avenue or Park Avenue, one of those ritzy New York ass avenues. It's on them, not the players, to get this thing done. And like not like lose games, but like we're supposed to have a lottery in November. That would be a huge event that you can up. Like people want to go to Unrivaled and like just celebrate it and not be worried about the CBA. And that's good for the WNBA if that's not a cloud hanging over the premier event of your offseason. And people can just, be excited about the season to come. And you will officially be at a WNBA never stops point that you can monetize if you get this done while the calendar still says 2025.
Again, that's where, like, I just again, being around NBA guys that are just like these mega rich people look at the WNBA as literally just a check that's going to get deposited. Like, when push comes to shove, they're going to get their check deposited, like, which sucks. I mean, Mitch, what's kind of your outlook on it, though?
Well, I was just going to go off of that too. When we've recently heard Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, kind of chime in on the situation. It's getting to a point where someone's going to have to step in if they haven't already. And I think that's the first sign of it, is when you have people from the NBA or anywhere else, but specifically the NBA, kind of chiming in and stepping in to some extent. And to me, that was very eye-raising and just kind of interesting that Adam Silver was weighing in on it. I know he was asked, but the fact that he's talking about it means that it's something that's been brought up in conversations not only throughout the WNBA but NBA. And once that pressure continues to be applied, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that's somebody else negotiating with the players or what, but it will get to a point, and I think that deadline of October 31st, it'll get to a point right there that, okay, let's get this done. Like, let's sit down and let's actually get this thing done. Now, it's just a matter of who puts their ego away first and just kind of agrees to sit at the table. But, I mean, what we've seen from the players, they're not going to budge, and they shouldn't, but they're not going to budge. And it's up to the league to just finally say, okay, we're wrong. Let's figure this out and go from there. But I don't know. I mean, going back to the expansion draft too, like, yes, it lies on what happens with the CBA. Everything lies on what happens with the CBA, yep. The draft, the free agency, everything. But I think with the expansion draft, even if we had a CBA in place, I don't even know if the WNBA officially knows what they're going to do with the expansion draft. And which is
they don't
kind of par. It's kind of par for the course.
I would be.
With that
I've only been covering the league for 2 years, but I don't think they know a lot about what they're doing with a lot of things further out than 3 months.
Well, right, and that's right there is not just a this year problem, but it's been 10 years plus. It's been the league is reacting to everything that's happening. They're not being proactive with anything, whether it's their marketing, whether it's their website, whether it's the small stuff like merchandise or whatever it may be, scheduling. They just don't think it through, and it ends up backfiring every single time. This is kind of getting into the weeds here, but it's something that needs to be addressed, and that's why we're in the situation we're in right now, is because there's no proactive thinking and strategy within the league. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem, especially when you're growing. And they need to figure that out too. But it's long story short is it's a complete mess. And I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen, which is unfortunate.
Terry stole the thunder for V. Marie asking who's on the WNBA Board of Governors. It's really sketchy because they don't say. There's money that gets poured into the WNBA that could be from anywhere. And they are lead decision makers because they're putting more money into it, and we have no clue. It's not publicly listed.
That's part of the reason why the players are so bitter too, is because a lot of this stuff is not known, like revenue or revenue share, or just even some of the stuff you were talking about. Like, the WNBA just does not let it be known, and they're not transparent about it. Not saying they have to be necessarily with the general public or with the media or whatever, but from within, you got to be transparent with your players, especially when you're trying to negotiate the next 10 years of their life. Like, you have to be transparent with all of that stuff to them. And that's just absolutely mind-blowing to me, because I don't know if it's a problem where they're not being transparent or they don't have any data to provide. And I'm worried that it's the latter, which is maybe
it might be a 70-30 split on that.
Real quick point on what it comes to the WNBA league leadership and data. My colleague, Dr. Lucas Seehofer at the Next, has done a tremendous job tracking injury data in the WNBA, and it was his doctoral dissertation, and he continues the tracking today. And everything that Lucas has researched indicates that injuries are on the rise, and this is a growing problem that needs to address. And when Kathy has been asked about it, she says, well, our data says there is no problem. Injuries aren't, tied to physicality or anything like this.
There is no data.
But yeah, there is. Kathy is the data in the room with us right now. And so I don't trust anything said at that podium further than I can throw that podium. So don't expect
and
any.
You can't lift that podium, so that's really saying something.
No, it's
I mean, to me, the when I was digging in for the ref story, and when I was digging in the middle of the season for like the CBA, like what they're looking for, just kind of like cap wise, there's not even gambling information out there on the WNBA. Like when the gambling sites can't tell you ref stats, or like the gambling sites can't give you odds on things, like there's it and Ghost mentions it's a red flag. Like it's a huge red flag that there is no public information on this, on a league that is consumed by the public. It's tough. Andrew asked in the chat earlier, am I making a separate channel for the Wolves content? Nope, it will be on the same YouTube channel. I switched the name of it to Missing Minnesota, so if there's a Missing Lynx icon in the bottom right stage left corner, Lynx pod. If it's a Wolves logo, it's a Wolves pod. They'll also be on separate playlists and be divided up on the channel. The Wolves will have a different podcast link, though. The Missing Wolves. I've been putting them in the Missing Lynx one for the first couple. I haven't. Mitch has. But that will be separated out at some point, more or less just, so we can have analytics and data that we can provide to the public, like people should. Anyways, last thing I wanted to just touch on real quick from the chat before we move on, but Tosh Cloud, yes, if Tosh Cloud wants to come sign with Minnesota, that'd be cool. I adore that woman, not only as like personality, she's awesome, but I mean her fight is wild. And Ghost, yes, the Timberwolves actually share an arena with the Lynx, and they also they use the Lynx's practice facility to get workups in, so they are subsidized by the Lynx, I think, at this point, especially in championships, at least. Kind of last thoughts, though. Let's keep it general. I was going to ask something more specific, but like let's keep it general. Of what is kind of your dream scenario for this offseason? Like, is it going out and getting someone? Is it going out and like signing a free agent? Mitch, I can only assume, is running over a multitude of turtles right now with how much rattling's coming from there.
Do you hear this in front of me? Like, there's a car in front of me that has like a can on his exhaust, and it's driving me bizarre because I've been following it for like an hour. But anyway,
wow.
I'll have to make a pit stop at a cheese curd stand here soon. But
okay, good. Mitch, I'll just ask you though, what's your dream scenario for this offseason to play out?
To be honest, I would, and I'm sorry for the listeners that are hearing this in the background, but to be honest, for me, like if the Lynx could get at least 4 of the 5 starters back, and I say 4 of the 5 because you don't know what's going to happen with the BC spot. But let's say she's back. You get all 5 of the starters back, and then I think if you can get Dejanay Carrington and Natish Heidemann to return coming off the bench, that to me is maybe the best case, and then surrounding them with more pieces. Now, let's say you get 4 of the 5 starters. Let's say BC goes in some expansion draft that nobody knows how it's going to work yet, but let's say that happens where they have 4 of the 5 starters back: Alana Smith, Nafisa Collier, Kayla McBride, and why am I blanking on another one? Courtney Williams. Let's say they get them back. I would love for them to go out, and even if that means ditching Dejanay Carrington's contract and putting more money towards a free agent elsewhere, to kind of solidify that 3, it could kind of be a number 2 or number 3 spot in the starting lineup. I think that would be very intriguing. So I don't know. I mean, to me, if you can run it back as much as absolutely possible, do that, but then surround it with people around them. But I don't know. I say that, and I'm not trying to make this as a cop-out answer, but there's literally, it sounds like gunshots nonstop behind me right now.
I like how the chat is running with the fact that you're just running over turtles right now.
I honestly, it sounds like it, but I'm not trying to make this as a cop-out answer, but it really does all lie on what happens with the CBA and when. That allows Minnesota to be more flexible. If there is a larger salary cap, they can maybe be a little bit more aggressive and go out and try and get somebody. Knowing Cheryl Reeve, she's going to do absolutely everything she can to be as aggressive as she can, but also retaining most of this team. And I think if you can do that, that's the best case. But I don't think they really need to do anything. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They have a good thing going, and I think you just kind of see if you can keep it going and just kind of fill some needs. And that's really all I think that they need to do this offseason.
So I just want to kind of pick your brain on it. Just one question. Are you kind of in the bring Courtney Williams back? That's, hard to find a good point guard. She's good enough at all of the things. I
do. I think you bring Courtney back, especially after the year that she had this year. An all-star year. It's, I'm not saying she could replicate it next year, but she you can tell she's more comfortable. She's a great fit into this system. I think that, she is somebody that fits perfectly, not only personality wise, but just, her style of play. I do think you need to bring her back. And I think part of that is you bring her back, not saying that her and T are a package deal, because you never know what can happen in free agency. But if you can bring Courtney back, odds are you have a good chance of bringing T back too. So I not that you would need to make the Courtney Williams signing in order to get T back, and that shouldn't be a reason you sign one player or the other. But I do think that they would strongly consider coming back to Minnesota or going somewhere together. But I would say outside of Courtney, so let's say you bring Courtney Williams back, you have that quote unquote big 3 that they've kind of rolled with all season: Nafisa Collier, Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams. I do think you need a player that can step up offensively when Courtney is having the nights that she is off. Somebody that can be in the starting lineup. Now T replaced Courtney at certain points, and she could step up and kind of fill in the gaps there when Courtney was struggling. But having somebody in, and that's what I was hoping we'd see from Bridget Carleton most of the season, is her hitting some, kind of timely shots like we saw even in 2024. But I think they need to have somebody in that spot that can kind of maybe not take over games, but can hit some key shots and kind of make up for some off nights. So you could say maybe it's not a big 4, but maybe a 3.5. I think that would be honestly the best case scenario.
Terry, I'm going to throw this one to you a little bit. Is BC the most at risk to leave? And then I also wanted, what's your kind of ideal off-season route that they take?
I would say yes, kind of. BC is probably the most likely. Though I think Shepherd is the one who has probably done the most to price herself out of what the Lynx would want to give her. But again, really hard to analyze, given that there's so much we don't know. So my ideal offseason is a new CBA now. It's not technically the offseason, but the day after the finals, October preferably. I agree with the things Mitchell said. It'll be a fun offseason with a high draft pick. That's always, the way the schedule works out. It's great to, track college basketball and do the mock drafts and have, arguments on platforms such as this about who they should pick and who they shouldn't pick. Like, we all know everything. So, just new CBA now. And then we can actually talk about stuff once we know what's happening.
Yes. Co-signed in blood. Yes. New CBA, please.
That draft pick, I do think, will play a huge role in how they address this roster, though. Like, I think they'll have a couple players in mind. Maybe they have one player in mind. And obviously, drafting a player will be a hell of a lot cheaper than re-signing somebody at the new CBA price, whatever that price is with the new CBA. So I do think that plays a huge factor in this.
It's something that would be a huge trade chip normally, but like how many trades are going to happen with everyone signing new contracts? And will there be kind of a restriction on when teams can make trades and when players can be traded? That's all stuff that we have no way of knowing or predicting, but potentially makes the pick more valuable than it would be in a normal year or less valuable than it would be in a normal year. So we have there's just my mind's already spinning out of control.
I mean, it's time is a flat circle, right? The last time Cheryl had a pretty darn good basketball team and a top pick, she ended up starting a dynasty. So, I mean, maybe that's just the simple answer is Cheryl knows who she wants, who she thinks is going to fit, and this just turns into an escalated Lynx dynasty that's already a pretty darn good team.
Yeah.
Mitch, Terry, I do want to give you guys the opportunity, though. Anything you're working on over the off season, anything you want to plug, anything you want to say, and then we will get out of here. 200 plus people popped in on this, which is wild for a midday Wednesday podcast. I hope everyone's lunch breaks were wonderful while you were listening to us ramble about WNBA. But anything you guys have coming up or want to plug?
Lynx Happy Hour. Lynx Happy Hour is coming back this week. The plan is to do off-season episodes. I don't know if it will be weekly or bi-weekly, but it is coming back. So catch Lynx Happy Hour wherever you get your podcast. I'll have some off-season stuff over at the Next, which is now the 9 basketball. I think the nexthoops.com still gets you there. But be mindful of the name change. I'll be posting links at Terry Horstman on Blue Sky. I am still on Twitter, regrettably. And I'm working on a presentation for a book deal that would be kind of behind the scenes of the construction story of next season's Lynx teams. So if you know anyone in the publishing industry, hit them up and tell them to give me a book deal.
There you go. Terry needs a book deal. Mitch, what do you got going on?
I kind of mentioned it before. As the off season starts, and I say off season, like the off season technically started for the Lynx, but once overseas play begins, I'll start doing an overseas update weekly at Canis Hoopus again this year, giving you an insight of how players are doing overseas that were under contract in 25. So it'll be a bulk of obviously the roster that we currently know the Lynx team as. But I will have that. There will be content throughout the off season at Winsider as well. And I'll continue to do the podcast year round as I have in other off seasons or other years. And we'll all continue to do stuff. But I'm really looking forward to, not to get too far ahead with coverage for next year, but really looking forward to next year with the Hitting the Hardwood stuff. I have a couple things in mind that I want to do just to kind of revamp things, maybe visually, maybe brand-wise. So just kind of a sneak peek to that, but just kind of behind the scenes stuff. Nothing will change with podcasts or anything, but looking forward to giving you guys a great product again next year. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's followed along, supported us, continued to show support of not only this podcast, but all of our podcasts at Hitting the Hardwood Network. We couldn't do it without you guys, and looking forward to producing and providing the best possible content that we can. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the listeners. Appreciate Andrew and Terry, you guys here. And looking forward to a very interesting and very busy off season with little to no sleep.
He's going to be grinding Turkish league tape. That's what Mitch does in the off season.
Maya Hirsch, I'll be having a weekly feature story on her this off season.
Sit downs, even. It's going to be you and Maya Hirsch with a spotlight in between you as you talk about her Hennessy deal that got announced for LeBron. They're partners. Anyways, appreciate everyone for listening. I'll be back with another Missing Links pod. I plan to do them every other week through the off season. If you like putting up with my ramblings, the Wolves podcast is part of the Hitting the Hardwood network as well. That'll be post game after every game, and we got some cool people coming up. Adam Mares from DNVR is going to be on the show tomorrow. We'll be live streaming that. Let's see here. Jordan Dye, Lynx Wolves courtside superfan, will be on the pod next week, and then Dane Moore is going to be doing the Monday before the season tips off. So feel free to come hang out. We'll do all of those as live streams so people can talk about dead turtles and whatever else you want to talk about in the chat. But appreciate all the people for tuning in. Mitch, Terry, appreciate you guys for coming on. And until next time, boy, we're in for a ride this off season.